Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Roy Blunt in the studio. How are you doing, my friend?
Well, I'm good, Jamie. I'm glad to be with you. Let me say to Tom, if as he's listening still on, I've done dozens of small business roundtables around the state talking about job creation. He can go to royblunt.com. Just let us know that he'd like to sit down and be part of one of those, and he can be part of that before the election and hopefully continue to be part of what we're doing if I get a chance to serve in the Senate after the election, of what do we do to create broad-based opportunity. You know, the biggest thing we ought to be talking about right now is the biggest tax increase in the history of America, which is about to occur January 1 as the tax policies of the last decade go away. 44% of all small business income will be taxed at a higher level next year than it is this year. And the Obama administration and the current Democrats in power, not all the Democrats in Washington, but the current people in power in Washington don't seem at all concerned that the death tax would come back and its ugliness, that the 10% bracket would go away, that capital gains taxes would go up. And that kind of broad-based tax discussion is where we ought to really be focused, and that's exactly what Tom's saying. And, the biggest term I've heard in all these jobs roundtables has been uncertainty. We don't know what our medical costs are going to be for new employees. We think our utility bill may double if the president gets his way. We don't know if they could organize the workplace without having an election, and we do know our taxes are going up. And the only thing they're certain about is bad, and the things they're uncertain about, they think are more likely to work against them than for them. And so you have people really holding back, not creating the broad base of private sector jobs that should be the number one focus of America right now.
And you outlined all those things that are changing as far as January 1st, and then also the expensing for small businesses will be greatly reduced. And so aside from the increase in the taxes, they're also going to be their ability to expense is going to be reduced as well. But at least, though, Congressman Blunt, people making under $250,000 a year won't see their taxes go up.
Unless they get a tan right now. And, of course, they're going to see their taxes go up.
Yeah.
All these fees, all these things that the administration's talking about, like so many other things they've said. They didn't stick with that very long. And this new tax for the health care bill, that the more people find out about it, the more they understand why I was opposed to it and the country should repeal it. But if you make $200,000 a year, as an individual, or $250,000 as a couple, that's two people making slightly more than $100,000. You have this new 3.8% tax that goes on top of everything else that you've made. And again, all the messages given the choice of following some ideological extreme liberal agenda or doing the right thing to create jobs, the administration every single time chooses ideology over jobs. We're seeing that happen in the Gulf right now. I think Senator Landrieu, a Democrat from Louisiana, said that already they've lost 12,000 jobs because of the so-called moratorium on drilling in the Gulf, somewhere we've been drilling for oil since the late 1940s. 48,000 wells, one problem, and so you put everybody in that business out of work. It's a crazy way to view the future of the country.
President Obama
you use as an excuse to drag sort of the sorry carcass of cap and trade back onto the stage. And remember, Missouri's in the top 6 states most negatively affected if cap and trade happens, but the whole country is negatively affected if that bill's allowed to become part of how we charge for utilities.
Isn't it weird how President Obama could wind up doing more damage down in the Gulf than BP ever did? I mean, honestly, in terms of the job loss, and again, we see another example of where the president, despite a federal court case or whatever, is going to figure out a way to get around it so that no matter what the federal court might decide on this moratorium, he's already been able to finesse the ability to stop drilling down there.
Well, that's right, and he's had two chances now to walk away and say, well, we've got to look at this again. The courts have ruled. Let's try to keep these jobs here. Once this equipment moves out of the Gulf, and they're moving the first piece of multi-million-dollar equipment away right now to go, I think, off the coast of Egypt, it's not coming back in 6 months. It may never come back. So we're talking about thousands and thousands of U.S. jobs that will be gone, and we're going to be more dependent on buying oil from people who don't like us than we are at this minute. And so it's just kind of the ultimate liberal lose, lose, lose strategy that cost Americans jobs at a time when surely the president understands that more than anybody else in the country, he would personally benefit from seeing those job numbers go the right way instead of the wrong way. And he just can't make himself separate from this ideology that's extreme and that the government knows best and the government can make every decision for you in a Nancy Pelosi world better than you can make it for yourself.
And can we add to the list of indirect tax increases? We have the child care tax credit being cut, and then we had the VAT tax, too, coming down the pike. I mean, I know that they haven't said for sure that that's going to come, but ultimately the VAT tax is going to come down the pike, and maybe by the time you're a U.S. Senator.
Well, it could happen, and I'm going to do everything I can to fight it. We don't need more taxes. We need to cut government spending. The problem is not that the government doesn't get enough money. The problem is the federal government spends too much money and focuses on how much money is being spent rather than the results you're getting. Everybody else in America for 20 years outside of the government has had to try to produce a better product for less cost. Only the government still measures how much you care based on how much you spend rather than the results you get by putting all the things available to us in use to do the things the government ought to be doing and then get out of the jobs, get out of the business that the government should have not been in to start with.
Congressman Roy Blunt, your website again?
RoyBlunt.com.
All right. Appreciate you joining us. As always, nice to see you. All the best to your family as well, my friend.
Great to be with you and best to your family and particularly that soldier of yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. Look forward to seeing him.
Calabrese do the mambo like a crazy with it.